Okay, then let's get started. I think that so everyone knows, I think by now, how this works on Juno. If you want to see the slides bigger, you just have to go to that bottom right-hand corner and make the slides big. Then you don't have to endure looking at my face. Also, please forgive me for being a little bit all over the place. We are literally, we're literally quite traumatized at the moment at University of Cape Town. Some of you are aware that our archive has just burned down. The mountain fire from Table Mountain came down onto the university on Sunday and took out a number of buildings or parts of buildings, and strangely enough, our Jagger Library. And so we haven't had much sleep, and we've had a lot of grief. We're literally grieving at the moment. I am a little bit not in my top form. But anyway, welcome to the breakout session. It's really great to have you here. Very basic housekeeping is just keep an eye on the shared notes. Please contribute to them as much as you can. This is what it's all about, is to solicit your input. So start off by adding your name, and let's make this a collaborative effort. Obviously mute yourself while not talking, and we're going to be recording, and use the chat, and just be very interactive, please. So if we can go onto the slide for the introduction, then hopefully I won't go behind time, because we've got way too many slides. We've got too much to talk about. Yeah, so I've mentioned the challenges and all of that. We can actually almost skip that one. I just want to highlight what is highlighted on the slide. What this is about is to really get your input on this environmental scan that we're planning to do. So we're wanting to look at how is data stewardship sort of implemented in various contexts. And yeah, some of us have really put on their thinking caps and come up with some amazing sort of preliminary work. I think I should just point out, yeah, this initial diagram was more of a rough sketch when we had our initial task groups. Obviously, this plenary has the sort of this focus on these first three: the business case, the terminology, and the models. So what we're trying to do is to capture the aspects of any given provision, because data stewardship means a lot of different things to a lot of different people based on where they work and what their needs are. And to then, you know, come up with some kind of common framework of looking at these different situations, these very heterogeneous situations. And to start showing up the links between the different aspects of the work and the interest groups, such as, you know, the roles and the definitions of stewardship and so on. And this is where I think I hand over to Graham, at least for a few slides, before we then hand over to our lightning speakers. Over to you, Graham.
My audio is on. So yeah, as Nicholas was sort of saying, we've had many sort of discussions, and I think very early on we sort of tried to figure out the many different aspects that we're looking at, and to help that conversation, we came up with this sort of conceptual diagram. It's not meant to be a be-all and end-all. It's really it's a framework to help us in our discussions and to provide a sort of common view of things. And hopefully it will also show some links between the various aspects of work and the other interest groups, task group, so that the roles, the stewardship, the definitions, and so on and so forth. So this is the overall sort of diagram. For those people who are used to kind of UML, this might be fairly familiar. So that you'll see things like 0 ... star means like it's either 0 instances or to many instances. So the key thing is it all centers around something labeled as a service here. But to take it back to kind of an earlier statement on one of the slides which was mentioned earlier, we have the aim to kind of to model data stewardship roles. So that's kind of this bottom right hand box down here. With a particular service provisions of data stewardship. So the kind of the service performs sort of functions and will require some sort of resources as well. And the larger organizational contexts within which such provisions exist. So the service may exist within another service. It'll have certain drivers, will be following certain standards as well, and you have a wider context as well within the organizational setting in which you'll find it. And we want to sort of see how those roles interact to provide services towards the target community, so the stakeholders, the data producers, the funders, the end users, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of like one conceptual diagram. Another sort of approach is to sort of look at, we've got a range of different instances of data stewardship, both on, if we take two axes, for example, at the organizational level, whether it's down at the project level, departmental, all the way through to national, multinational, and global, and about how specific they are with regards to their domain. You know, are they very specific to a very particular topic? Are they cross domain, or are they very much generic and agnostic? And if we take those sorts of two axes, we can get an idea of a spread of different instances of data stewardship. And we've just plotted up a few here. The ones in red are the talks we're going to have today. But there's a few other instances in blue as well, just to kind of orientate people to other instances. So people may be very familiar with Zenodo, Figshare, OpenAir, which we sort of say on the multinational to global scale, and it can be fairly agnostic. And then you've got more specific services like the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change data service, and so on and so forth. So we'll hand over to Nicholas to introduce the talks now.
Thanks, Graham. That's also great. Yeah, so we're going to kick off. This is our list that I neglected to first mention, starting with Yan Wang from TU Delft to share with us, one of the models at work, which we've at the moment sort of tentatively named Research Institute or Faculty Repository. Over to Yan.
Thanks, Nicholas. Hello?
It's not super, but I think it's okay.
I hope it's clear. I will try to speak louder. Thanks, everyone. So I'm happy to introduce our data stewardship model at TU Delft. So our university, we had a very strong advocate from the top management, from institutional perspective, to provide data stewardship for researchers. So we have we have our RDM support for all faculties, and data steward are disciplinary data management experts. So we have one data steward at each of our 8 faculties. And we are a technical university, so our faculties basically covers a wide range of engineering and science research, but also we have a smaller group of social science research and humanities as well. The scope of our RDM support provided by the data steward really covers the entire research life cycle, so starting from research proposal phase, and then during the research and after the research, after the project is completed. Our motto or driving force to start the data stewardship is really to shift to the cultural change, to raise awareness among research communities, to improve and help them with hands-on skills and capacity building in data management. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a very brief organizational model of our data stewardship. So as you can see, at the faculty level, we have one data steward at each faculty, and they are coordinated centrally by the library. So the coordinator sits in the library, the research data support team, and the same team also have colleagues operating our institutional data repository, the 40U research data. Next slide, please. Of course, we don't just have the repository, and actually Data Steward is the contact person with many other research support services. And this is a very brief graph to categorize the type of other stakeholders in the RDM support landscape at university. So Data Steward frequently has contact with ICT experts, so regarding the infrastructure tools and platforms, privacy experts regarding GDPR issues or other sensitive data processing issue in the project, and ethics experts to ensure that research activities that involve personal human participants are done properly, and also legal experts regarding RPR or copyright issues with research output. We also have data managers or research software engineers working at more project level to really have more hands-on detailed more practical support for project data management needs. And they also have, they are in frequent contact with Data Steward as well. And also the general support from the library regarding publishing, training, and other data management related issues. We are also in contact with the grant officer who help researchers to prepare project proposals or coordinate large projects. This is mainly about the data management plan request or data paragraph proposals for ethics deliverables before, during, or after the project. And also our data steward are also involved in suggesting and implementing the policy, a data management policy at the faculty and or at the university level. So in general, our data steward is really the front line of the support service facing the research communities. Next slide, please. To summarize a few achievements regarding our data stewardship, so I think our strongest point and achievement is really we build very good connections and trust with the research communities. We are really working together with the researchers. Our support is quite pragmatic, and so all the data steward did a lot of outreach activities to different research groups at the faculty, and really try to influence the daily activities of researchers. And we also gained a lot of insight into disciplinary issues. So at each faculty, data steward have really good understanding of the challenges in data management in the specific domains of that faculty. And another very nice achievement we are really appreciating is we have a good institutional support. We now have all faculties has their own research data management policies, and we also have a policy framework at the university level. Next slide, please. We also have a lot of challenges at the same time, and the biggest one is really the capacity issue. So we only have one full-time person as a data steward per faculty and for everything. And because we work so closely with the research committees, and we really start to get more and more complex questions and different demands from them. So this is something we also try to, we're exploring solutions and try to improve our support. Another challenge is because we are the contact person, we don't have much operational authority, so we can propose improvement and we get demand, but we are still need to work together with many other teams who have the operational authority to make changes at the university level. And having that said, so we, on one hand, provide very pragmatic support and solutions. On the other hand, we also need to be compliant with a lot of requirements, regulations. So we are kind of bridging the demand and the supply in our university. I think that's it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jan. Sorry, that always takes a while on this platform to mute and unmute. Thanks for the lovely presentation. We take so much inspiration from your amazing work. I'm wondering, do we have a different slide for this, for introducing the NGDC? I've just now, I'm just wondering.
We've got the slide up. So yeah, we're going back to this this plot to kind of like show where the next presentation is. So this is on a national level, and it's sort of a fairly specific domain repository. And it's got a link over to kind of something which is a bit more multi-domain as well.
Thank you. Exactly. Okay. Then let me, and this time I'm going to be more on the button down here. Over to you, Jana.
I think you're on mute, Jana.
Sorry, I thought you were unmuting me. So apologies for the acronyms in advance, but the slides will explain what they are. So I'm Jana Pinnick from the UK National Geoscience Data Centres, and the first slide will explain about the organisational context and what our key areas of work are. So the NGDC is hosted by the British Geological Survey, which has been there for nearly 200 years, so a lot of data. The BGS in turn is part of one of the research councils in the UK, so NERC, the Natural Environment, and they run an environmental data service, EDS, so we are part of that network, which you saw on the first slide, and it consists of 5 data centres, and Graham belongs to another one of those. NERC in turn is part of the UK Research and Innovation Framework, with other research councils taking part in that. And that's a non-governmental public body which is under the UK government's Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. So you can see all the layers of our organisation there, so that adds to the complexity of what we are doing. The NGDC in particular, there's 5 key areas or levels that we work on. The first one is we are the custodian of all UK National Geoscience Data Archive. That's our key activity. The other one is we take in all the NERC-funded earth science data, so we are a domain repository, taking data from universities, other research institutions, everybody that gets their money from NERC. We also work as an institutional repository, taking BGS researchers' data, regardless of whether they are funded by NERC or whether they work with industry, other commissioned projects globally, nationally. There are some statutory and voluntary data donations by industry, commercial sector and academics we also take. And we are an approved place of deposit under the UK National Archives for public records. Now, NERC is the NERC is one of the UK, well, it's the UK's largest funder of environmental research, and they have a data policy which mandates that EDS take the data that is generated by their funding. The NGDC structure then, and the roles. We have a new model which has only become operational last month, so it's very new. I can't tell about where we are sort of actually getting with the change, but we are run by a chief digital officer, which is a BGS role rather than the data center role, and she runs 4 business areas, one of which is the data center. The data center then has a head of operations, which is the second box on the right. And there are on the senior management team 6 key people. I work as the NGDC grant manager. I work very closely with the data accession pipeline manager. She's responsible for ingesting and accessioning all the data that comes in from all those 5 key areas, which you saw on the first slide. We also have a corporate data manager and data architect, which pretty much does what it says on the tin. We have a BGS library and we have a core store for physical data. So all 6 of us contribute to the workings of the data center. And we have 142 staff in the digital, so it's very difficult in these 5 minutes to explain what they all do. So if you're interested, I can tell you in another context. Next slide, please. The first slide told you about the NERC Environmental Data Service, and I just wanted to talk about their model for the next minute. So all data centers have a service level agreement with NERC, and we come together as a DOG, or the Data Operations Group, where BODC, which is the Marine Data Center, Graham Cedar for atmospheric and Earth observation, EIDC for terrestrial and freshwater data, then our Earth geoscience data, and the Polar Data Center for polar and cryosphere or frozen data in all its formats. All the data center staff have their special domain expertise in curating their data types to ensure that they are fit for purpose over the long term, which we consider to be 10 years plus under the UKRI data policy. But for example, geoscience, you can say, if you think about fossils, etc., that it is a very long time. And we also, apart from doing our specific transfer work, we have a lot of integration activities, which we are building on as we speak. So they include examples such as a big data upload service for multi-terabyte data, which smaller data centers can't easily ingest. We have a shared data catalog service and a model catalog. We are working on other initiatives, including data labs training and APIs. Each data center have their own catalog as well on top of that. And some of the successes and challenges I can pick, and these are mainly from the NGDC point of view at the moment. So the in-house skills and technology has been very successful for both the BGS and the NGDC. So for example, we have built an online data deposit portal to get data in from the researchers, and that's an easy one-stop shop for them, so they can get both data, or if they're just giving us metadata for physical data, for example, it's one place where they can go and do that all, and that's been really successful. We are still improving it as we go. Second one, we've been working hard to apply standards for our data to improve the digital continuity and the reusability. One example of that is that we've introduced a mandatory AGS file format. That's a geotechnical data format, and that's also used by the industry, so not just the data center. So that's been successful. Advocacy and engagement with researchers. It's taken a few years to get there, but we are really getting the academic researchers to comply with NERC data policy, which has only been there since 2014, and it was a difficult beginning, but we are really being successful now, and researchers are doing it. And finally, the doc integration, the collaboration between the data centers and some other institutions as well, that's been really successful, and it has strengthened knowledge exchange and created operational efficiencies to all parties involved. The challenges then, I'm sure many of you will recognize these. As a public sector body, the reduced funding within the UK has meant less staffing resource available to do more and more work. So the researchers have to do a lot of the data management work themselves. We've had to produce guidance so they can try to do that. And that also has an impact on recruitment, so and retainment of very skilled data center staff. So we have lost some very skilled data scientists, for example, to organizations who can afford to pay more. Then the data volumes have an impact on the space and quality, of course. So you're trying to get bigger and more data in. You're having to make sure you have enough space to do that, that you have the quality controls in place. And of course, the working from home in the last year has not helped with that. And finally, just a small example of getting researchers to provide good quality metadata. We are getting that through the portal, but because of all the different data types and the impact of that type on the metadata, we are really having to liaise personally with some of the depositors to make sure that the quality does not suffer from working from home, from different portal instances where we cannot cater for all different eventualities. That's a whistle-stop shop Thank you very much for all.
Thank you so much, Jana. I hope my audio is on. Yes, okay, great. So next up, we're still on time. We've got 3 more of these lightning talks before we go into the interactive session. And I can see in the comments already they're working. They're provoking responses, and that's great. Next up is the Polish Competence Center model, the cross-institutional collaboration model. So I'm handing over to Magdalena.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi, you can hear me. That's great. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. And I would like to tell you a little bit more about our Open Science Competency Center from Gdańsk. My name is Magdalena Szuflita-Żurawska, and I'm a leader of the Open Science Competency Center. Our Competency Center was established under the Bridge of Data project at the end of the 2018 as a collaboration between 3 Pomeranian universities. So that's the Gdańsk University of Technology, University of Gdańsk, and Gdańsk Medical University. So now you can see that we have 3 institutions that they have quite different background models and disciplines. So at the beginning, our main task, it was establish the open research data repository. And in the meantime, we try to organize data stewardships support. Unfortunately, we do not have that complex model as, for example, Jan introduced, but we try to do something like that. However, at the moment, our main goal is to offer guidance and support to research about publishing in open science, preparing data management plans, and making, of course, data accessible via our repository. At the moment, our team is quite small. I mean the team which is related to tasks with research data management. So it's about 4-5 people, and I think we all serve as data stewards. Next slide, please. So our main tasks are providing disciplinary support for research data management across those 3 institutions. Of course, we are situated at Gdańsk University of Technology, and we have, I think, our main area of support is this university. However, we also try to help other 2 universities in establishing such kind of service. What we're doing at the moment, especially we doing tailored consultations and workshops on data management practice, especially on data management plans and funders policies. Of course, due to the pandemic, we doing that online, but we try to those training into the several target groups. For example, we offer disciplinary training for civil engineering, disciplinary training for architectures, for biology, chemistry, different disciplines. Another part of our tailored trainings, they are something like a train the trainer model. So we offer support and workshops for administration staff. Our trainings and workshops include information about data storage and backup options. We also try to help researchers with meeting journals requirements for data sharing. We advise on how to increase impact with the data. And also we try to provide a little bit legal training. So our Open Science Competency Center, it's a mix of IT specialists, researchers, and librarians. Next slide, please. Thank you. And here I prepare for you one of the collaboration example. I think that might be quite interesting because we are in the middle of creating something we called legal knowledge hub. During our work as data stewards, we realize that one of the most challenges and difficult area for researchers is the legal requirements when they sharing their research data. And also, unfortunately, we do not have legal support at the university. I mean, we have a legal officer, or even 2 or 3 legal officers at the universities, but unfortunately, they are not part of the project. They do not have time to provide that kind of service for our researchers. So we started to think what we can do, and we had that idea that we will try to establish a database, something like a database with all the legal problems, legal issues which researchers may face during for example, sharing the data or writing a data management plan. So we established 3 focus groups from 3 universities. We then, and also we had also legal issues from data management plans we started to receive during this project. We identified 75 issues. We collected them into the spreadsheet, and we divided them according to the disciplines and according to the, let's say, more general, which will be common for all the disciplines. In our project, because the Breach of Data project is, of course, financed by the grant, we have funding for higher legal officers. 1 minute. So the first stage of our legal consultation, that was the general consultation. We collected all the general issues. And the second stage, special issues, they are all those legal problems which are very special for each disciplines. So now at the moment we just finished our legal consultation, and we will have something like different topics, which we divide them into the different disciplines. And we hope that this database will be able to show you at the end of this year. So next slide, please, the last one.
Magdalena, just to say, please, because we've got so little time, just to rush through it.
So you can see here our main challenges. One of them is, of course, is a good idea to have 3 universities, 3 institutions in the project. But you can see that if the 3 universities, they have different background, we have so many disciplines. Legal issues, low number of data stewards. We still have problem how to define a data steward in the professional way to to introduce them into the authority of the universities. So we have problem, for example, how to hire them. It should be a position of librarian or IT specialist. Time pressure, of course, and the most not important thing, funding. We don't really know what to do when our project will finish. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Magdalena, and thank you very much for that talk. And I'm sorry to have have had to interrupt you. We have basically the time at the bottom right minus 10 minutes for this breakout session. So just to say that's why we're rushing along a bit, because we're rushing towards the interactive part. So our next presentation is now for the mature project-specific repository model. And the example is coming from the core facilities of the University of Manchester, and our presenter is, and I've just noticed this, and isn't this very sort of heteronormative of me to not even really perceive it, but all of our data stewardesses today are female, and I think that's also really something to be actually quite proud of and mention. It just occurred to me. Over to you, Danielle.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm Danielle. I'm a research data steward here representing core facilities from the Faculty of Biology, Medicine and Health at the University of Manchester. So I started in this role just over a year ago, prior to which I was a postdoctoral researcher and user of core facilities. So researchers in our faculty have access to 9 different core facilities, each specialising in different experimental techniques and producing data in a range of different formats and different quantities of data. So we have data sets ranging from a few megabytes through to several terabytes. The quantity of data is continually growing as new types of instruments and higher resolution instruments are made available. And collectively, the core facilities are the major data generators within the faculty, producing hundreds of terabytes of data annually. And most research projects contain data generated through at least one core facility. So currently, each core facility handles their own data, using their own intermediate data storage and compute infrastructure. However, as the complexity and quantity of data has increased, this approach is becoming unsustainable. And we risk missing an opportunity to better support researchers with their data management. So my role was created to try and address some of the data challenges that core facilities and our researchers face. These include having access to tiered data storage, high-spec compute, mechanisms for data transfer, and metadata collection, as well as ensuring the data security and access controls, to name but a few. So next slide, please. So since starting in this role, I've been working closely with core facilities and other key stakeholders, including our researchers, Research IT, the library, and the Information Governance Office. This is to ensure that our strategy in core facilities aligns with and feeds into the wider RDM landscape at the university, which is in itself also evolving. So through these conversations, 3 sub-projects have emerged, which I'm now implementing. The first is to work directly with core facilities to create a data management plan, to establish things like naming conventions, meaningful folder structures, and using open data file formats where possible. We're also looking at mechanisms for collecting metadata at the point of data generation and packaging this with the data sets. And also better defining the point at which we transfer ownership of data from core facilities to the researchers and what quality control checks must be in place, satisfied before we can release the data. The second sub-project is to design and build new centralized core facility IT infrastructure for short-term data storage and processing. So this will be professionally managed and fully integrated with the university-wide IT infrastructure. And the third sub-project is to deliver RDM training for our facility staff and our researchers. In particular, I'm keen to target master's and PhD students, so sort of give them the foundational research data management skills they need at the start of their career. But I've also had to do quite a bit of training myself. So even though I've come into this role from a research background, I found there's quite a lot to learn that I didn't know about, and also quite a lot of IT to learn about. So next slide, please. So with any sort of project like this, of course, there are big challenges. So what we're trying to do is nothing short of instigate a shift in our research culture. And this is something that's not going to happen overnight. So ultimately, we need to increase awareness of research data management amongst our researchers. And we hope that core facilities can help drive this by implementing best practices within our workflows. And in doing so, we can lead by example. So we're working within quite a complex environment. So it's not only the complexity of the data, but also the complex workflows that we have. And it's clear that a one-size-fits-all approach across core facilities would be quite difficult. So instead, we've established a set of golden rules and guidelines that we'll work within. The other challenges are sort of technical challenges. I won't go into these, but anybody involved in IT will probably be all too familiar with these. And the other thing is future-proofing. So keeping an eye on the horizon and trying to understand how we will be impacted by new technologies such as machine learning, increasing use of cloud architectures, funder and repository requirements. So although we're relatively new, just starting this project, we've already had some successes. So firstly and foremost is we've managed to foster stakeholder engagement and support, which is crucial to the success of this work. Equally important, we've established a sustainable funding model for this work and also for me. We have a prototype platform, IT infrastructure platform that we have already set up and are testing with a group of core facilities and users. And we're about to start trialing new data management software tools with a selection of research groups and core facilities. And with that, I will hand back to the chair.
Oh, that was so, that was literally, I had my little alarm going off. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Danielle, for that presentation. That was very interesting, very clear. And I think also at least from our perspective, something that we can really relate to sort of point by point from where we are here at University of Cape Town. But I'll hand over now to Thandokazi Maqeba to speak to the model of the general intra-institutional repository service with Stewardship Network. Over to you, Thandokazi.
Thanks, Nicholas. Hi, everyone. I am Thandokazi Maqeba. I work as a data curator at the University of Cape Town. In order to start implementing our data stewardship services, we have defined the business context in the following manner. UCT is an African research-intensive university. UCT Libraries has a department called Digital Library Services, DLS for short, where I work. DLS manages the Ziva Hub Institution Data Repository, which runs on Figshare for institutions. The Ziva in the word is Shona for to know. Ziva Hub, on Ziva Hub, we have set up around 250 nested groups for faculties, for example, health science faculty. The departments that we work closely would be with the Institute of Infectious Disease and Molecular Medicine. And the research project, for example, would be the South African Tuberculosis Vaccine Initiative. So content is uploaded decentrally to Ziva Hub and assigned to a DLS data curator like myself, as well as a subject expert data steward, such as Dr. Mbandi, to assist me with quality control. Next slide, please. A data steward at UCT is any UCT affiliated person who promotes, shares, supports best data practices within a research department or group at the university. The data stewards are in turn supported by DLS. Next slide, please. The data steward community of practice is conceived in the context of a scholarly commons to form a basis of a lively data culture at UCT. Let's zoom in a bit. Next slide, please. The community of practice itself is entirely open, comprising of anyone interested to be part of it. Everyone shares the basic set of practices and guiding principles which DLS helps to draft and manage. These include checklists, guides, policies, plans, strategies, and templates. Some of the common pool of resources around which these principles and practices revolve are provided by our centralized IT service, while others are managed by DLS. These include the UCT DMP platform, the Ziva Hub data repository, the Izolo digital preservation service, the Ibali digital collection showcasing platform. Next slide, please. Data stewards are needed in every field, and we would like to develop more data stewards in the humanities faculty around a GLAM lab. This would involve a number of library departments, namely special collections, DLS, and humanities librarian. Ideally, there would be data stewards in each group and department in order to provide subject expert data, quality control, FAIR principles, and other metadata. Next slide, please. This slide highlights some of the work DLS staff members have managed to do using Ziva Hub repository in collaboration with UCT data stewards in listing co-authored Figshare case studies on how various groups with an assigned data steward are making use of Ziva Hub. Next slide, please. This slide outlines some of the challenges we are experiencing at the moment and some of the ways that we're trying to address them. At times, the great scale and slow pace of necessary change is frustrating, but we know that we are not alone in the struggle. Thank you for your interest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thandukazi. Wonderful presentation that takes us over. We now have 9 minutes and 33 seconds left for our interactive session. I hope you guys have been properly inspired to now basically look at what we've come up with so far in order to sort of make a survey. But in order to take you in properly, I'm going to hand over to my colleagues to make it less confusing than what I've just done. Sorry about that. All right, guys, take over before I make further blunders.
Nicholas, thank you so much. And obviously thank you so much to all of the people who presented the lightning talks today. So I'm Bill Ayres here from the University of Manchester. I'm the strategic lead for the Research Data Service at the university, and have been, as Nicholas has said it before, but honoured to be part of this working group within the interest group over the last kind of period of months while we've been going for this. Now, the interactive session, we've got very little time for this today. The main thing we wanted to do is to introduce the survey that we've produced, and to ask people to not to fill it in because there's no time to do that, but to go down on the Google Doc and to have a look at the areas that you might be a particular interest or relevance for you, and to then to start to maybe comment on those or to add some thoughts of your own. The main things we're thinking about for this is we have 3 questions in our mind really. Are the questions clear? Are there aspects of data stewardship that we're not capturing, and will we produce something useful at the end of this? And this is the thing that we were kind of hoping to maybe open a conversation. And if anyone does have any questions from the group who are online, it's difficult to see the numbers here, but I think there are quite a few people in the room still. So if anyone does have any questions about the session so far, any of the presentations, or indeed the survey as it stands, then please give us a shout.
So I'm just going to quickly introduce the structure of the survey itself, back to kind of this conceptual diagram earlier on. So this is mainly in sort of 3 sections. The section 1 is really about capturing the service or the data provision instance. And then section sort of 2 really covers the data stewardship, the roles, the functions within a particular context. And that's the main bulk of the survey. And then section 3 is about capturing the wider context of the stakeholders as well. It also covers other various aspects about the maturity of the service, its level of engagement, and what point in the process of the data lifecycle that your service is involved with, the experiences which I've seen, and that's a case, and the impact as well. So there we go. I'll hand back over to Bill.
Hi again. Yeah, so we come to this luckily with only a few minutes remaining because you know, it is an interactive session, but in this context with the breakout, we can't break the group up any further. So I guess we're asking people to start reading through the survey, to share their thoughts, and if there are any questions you want to pop into the chat, then obviously we can answer those. It was suggested I should hum some happy music to keep us going for this, but I'm not going to make anyone suffer through that. So
Thanks, Bill. Okay, so I think if anyone still doesn't have the link, we'll pop the link in one more time, and otherwise, you know, also let your interest and your expertise and your own professionalism sort of guide you. We're now together at the bottom of page 6 of this RDA number 3 plenary 17 survey for comment document. You can read through the, you know, the purpose of the survey, and then, you know, you're encouraged to pick a section and critique it. Use the comments function or the suggestions function, but maybe mainly the comments function, and give us your input. Okay, I'll shut up now so that you can read.
I think on a practical note, I think, Nicholas, will we be leaving the Google Doc open for editing as time moves on, so that people can contribute to this later in the day if they choose to?
Yes, I think we'll leave it on for editing, and then at some point we might reduce it to comment only. Yeah, but definitely it would be wonderful if people could stay working on that document. It would be much appreciated. And so all I'll do is I'll kind of call us back in 4 minutes 29 seconds. So yeah, we've got just under 5 minutes.
And we would love to hear from you if you see that something is missing, and also whether the results of that survey would be useful for you for your activities. So these are 2 major questions that we have today. And if you could already comment, please jump in. I think everyone could turn on camera and mic. I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I think to kind of carry on with the context of the work that we've been doing, one of our next main steps is to finalize this survey to get it to the point where we are ready to share it with the community. So this is, you know, as Nicholas has said and Graham, this is our opportunity to have that kind of editorial pass in this context, in this setting at the plenary. But then we are going to move, hopefully fairly quickly, to having that final draft of the survey ready for sharing with the wider community. And I mean, a reflection from me, I guess, being part of this group, is that obviously we have our own context and setting which we work in, and in my case that's obviously in higher education in a university, but the RDA does have such a diverse range of organisations and institutions that are part of it, and we've seen from the work that we've been doing how varied the approaches are to data stewardship across those different domains and organizations, and how the services differ so much. You know, and obviously what we're trying to do is, you know, we can't produce a survey which is enormous because people never fill them in. We don't want to produce a survey that isn't useful because it has too little in it. So we're trying to hit the sweet spots in that. And I suppose the other point to make, I guess, is that, you know, we've been working on this for some time, so we're hoping that we can still see the wood for the trees, but maybe we're looking at the wrong forest. And if that's something that people can see for us, then they can give us that advice. And there we are, 3 minutes from me. So yeah.
please, if you have any comments, write them up in the document. That would be super helpful. And if someone wants to speak now, please also do. We have a couple minutes left.
Could be worth just adding that there may be questions that in interviews rather than in a survey. So if you have thoughts on those are welcome as well.
Because one of the outcomes of this is the survey is not the be all and end all. It's a stepping stone, and it's kind of like casting the net as wide as possible at the moment to kind of see what's out there, and we can from that hopefully identify some exemplars for further in-depth interviews. And the approach I think we're currently looking at is the open business model canvas methodology for that. And as Angus said, that's where we would take some of those other questions which aren't in the survey to that, because it would be allow us to kind of explore these aspects of the flip more.
To the survey, but I wonder, one of the things I found really useful this morning was a highlight of the challenges and impacts that each of our lightning talk presenters shared. I wonder, as you send out the survey, if that might also be useful to capture, just so that we can think about resources that may meet the need as opposed to just describing.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. We will capture that and we will add it to the contextual setting for the survey, certainly.
Nicholas, I think we've got about 20 seconds left.
Yeah, that's the way things roll. We were so grateful for everyone having joined. Yeah, 15, 14, 13. So yeah, please find your ways back to the main room. Oh yeah, Slack. We do have obviously quite a lively discussion going on Slack the whole time, and then we make a lot of use of Google Docs and Google Sheets and all that. So yeah, thanks to everyone. Thanks to the presenters. Most of all, thanks to you who showed an interest and who are contributing. And see you in the main session.
And I think if you scroll down, you'll be able to get back.